Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to make this really fun Christmas mice pop-up box card. So let's go ahead and get started. So for paper today we're using the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And for stamps we're going to be using this brand new set from Art Impressions. And we're going to be using quite a few of these images. And you can see you have these cute little mice. And you've got the coordinating dies as well as the stamps in this set. And this is called the Christmas Mice Set. So I've placed these in my Misty Stamp Positioner, and I'm going to be inking these up using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is a permanent black ink, and we're going to be doing using some watercolor markers. So we're going to stamp these with the permanent ink, and I'm just going to use a regular chalk eraser to press these out. I'm finding this is working pretty well. So it's just an inexpensive chalk eraser, and I am going to stamp these a couple of times. I want to get a nice dark crisp image. So I will need to stamp a few more candy canes, a few more presents, and a few more of the little berries and leaves. After I did that, I heat set everything, and then I'm using light violet and purple to do the coloring on the couch. So these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, so these are a water-based marker. And I'm using the two colors to do my shading. And then I'm using the blender pen to just blend these colors together. Now with this blender, you can scribble it onto your scrap paper to change colors until when you scribble it on your scrap paper, when it goes clear, you know that you're good to change colors. And you can also remove ink from your image as well. So you can just grab that ink off your image and scribble it onto the scrap paper until you get that look that you're going for. And I do find that the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock does work the best. It keeps that ink up on top of the paper a little bit longer, gives you a little bit more time to do your blending. So now I'll just add a little bit of shading right under these cushions and in those little folds. Again, I'll just pull that down towards the bottom here. So for my colors today, I'm primarily going to stick with this purpley tone, some turquoise, like a dusty rose color, and some grays. So I'm going to try to keep that as my palette here today. I don't want to add too many other colors or too many different colors. So really the focal point will be this bright kind of purpley couch that we're going to be having. And later on we're going to add some polka dots to this, so it's really going to be fun and whimsical when we get done. Now there you can see I'm just scribbling off some color right onto my scrap paper, just removing any extra color there. And then I'm just adding those shadows here along the back of the couch. And again, if you get too much ink, just scribble it on your scrap paper. And I do want to keep it the lightest up towards the top. So today we're going to be making this 3D pop-up project, which is really cute and fun to do with your little images. When you have a lot of images that you can create a little scene with, this is a really fun project to do. So kind of look through the stamp sets that you have and see what other images or sets would work for this kind of a project, because it's really fun, and it's really fun for the recipient to get too. And this will fold up to fit in a standard A2 size envelope, so that makes it easy to mail. And you'll see that when we finish the project, it's really nice and flat when you fold it up, so it goes through the mail very easily. Now I'm going to switch to gray and light gray. And I'll be using that to color in the little pants on my mice. So that's where I'm going to start. And again, just kind of using that gray color to add some shadows here. So again, I'm going to keep these little mice in grays and whites. So I'll do a gray and white striped shirt and then gray and white striped hats. So that again, we're going to be adding some gray and white pattern paper later on as well. So it's all going to tie in together. And then here's where I'm adding some of that gray to the stripes on the hat. And then I'll come in with that sugared almond pink, add a little pink to the cheeks and to the ears as well. And then I've got beige and mid brown, and I'll be using those two colors to color in the mice. And this is one of my favorite brown combinations. I really like how this blends together. You get a nice shadow with the mid brown, but you can keep it fairly light with that beige color. So it's a really nice combination. I'll finish coloring in this little mouse on camera, and then I'll do the other two off camera. But I did them the exact same way as this first one here. So now I'm switching to turquoise green and light blue, and I'm going to do those little trees on the coffee mugs there. And now I'm using the haze blue just to add a little shadow on those mugs and on their hats as well. Now for this little rug, I'm going to be using the pale rose. And this is a really pretty, soft, kind of a dusty rose color. Now, I really didn't need to do too much with that rug because not a lot of it's going to show. But I did want, if you look down into the 3D pop-up box, you will see that rug a little bit. Now here I'm just doing the holly and berries, and I'm using that same blue and turquoise combination. And then I'm using kind of that pinky color to do the berries. Now again, I'm just going to start to repeat those colors for my stockings. And I'll use those same colors again on the little presents there. So I colored in all of these stockings the exact same way, just switching up my colors. And then I'll add a little bit of a shadow here on the white parts, and I'm just using that light gray to do that. And again, I'll do that for all three. So let's switch to the little candy canes, and again I'm going to that pink color, and that's that pale rose, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color on the inside of the candy cane, and then I'll pull it out towards the edges. And then again repeating those colors. So here I'm using that light gray, just put it in the corners and blend that over, and then I'm using that pale rose for the bow, and I like to place the color towards the center of the bow and then just pull it out towards the edges. And I'll do that same technique for all of these presents. Now for this little table, I'm going back to the grays. I'll use a light gray and a darker gray again, the same combination of grays we used before. And I'm just going to add some shadows here. Then I'm going back to that pale rose again. And that's for the tray for my little cookies for Santa. And then I'll use the beige and mid brown again to color in the cookies. So again, this is a very simple color palette. And I'm just keeping those cookies the lightest at the top. And here I'm just coming in with a little bit darker gray, and I'm just going to blend that in towards the center here. So now that I've got everything colored in, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of interest here using my white gel pen, and I'm going to add polka dots all over this couch. And this is going to be really cute. Then I'm just adding some little highlights here to the rug, to the berries, to my little candy canes and my stockings, and also the little bows on the presents there. So this just kind of makes everything pop and just adds a little bit more of a highlight. And this is really easy and quick to do. So let me give you a closer look at all of these little images. I just think those little mice are just so adorable. So I did decide to add a little bit of pattern to the stockings here. So I did go back with that gel pen. I'm going to add a little bit of a plaid pattern to that first stocking, And then I'll add some polka dots to this other one here. Now I've got the coordinating dies that do come with this stamp set. I'll tape those down with a little bit of purple tape, and then I'm going to run this through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. Once all my coloring is done, I like to put down a piece of scrap paper just to protect everything as I run it through my die cutting machine. So you can see here we have all these little pieces. Now let's go ahead and build our little pop-up. You can see that's what it's going to look like. So I'm going to grab this piece and the little insert piece. We'll be die cutting 2 of each of those, again out of the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. And then I've got this beautiful little plaid, gingham plaid. This is from the Gotta Have Gingham 6x6 Petite paper pack from Fawn. And this scallop box card pop-up die set is also from Fawn. And when we cut out the plaid, we're going to get a really pretty little stitch border all the way around the edges. So I've gone ahead and cut out all those little extra pieces out of the plaid. So let's go ahead and assemble the base of our pop-up box. And I've got everything folded here, and you'll just follow the score lines. When you die cut this, you will get all of the score lines you need to get this folded. And you do want to use your bone folder to press everything out. And once you have these 2 pieces folded, we can go ahead and assemble this. So I'll apply a little bit of double-sided tape here. This is the 1/4 inch double-sided tape. And I'm going to just snip off that excess. Then I'll go ahead and press that out with the bone folder. It just makes it easier to remove the backing. And now I can line these up and start attaching these together. So I'm going to line these 2 up and tape that in place. And then I'm just laying it flat here just to make sure that it's nice and straight and that that is lined up right on that fold line. Once I'm sure of that, I can press that out with the bone folder. And then to do this side, I'm just going to lay this flat. And I'll just bring the left and right sides together here. And that should line up perfectly. So now we've got the base to our little pop-up. And we'll have 3 sides will be folded down, and that back side I'm going to leave straight up. And we'll reinforce that here in a minute. So I've got the 2 little inserts. I'm just, again, following the score lines. And I'm just going to fold those over and press those out with the bone folder. And then I'm going back to that same double-sided tape. I'll apply some to each of these tabs. And I'll remove the backing from the tape and then just place it inside the box here. Now you can place these anywhere you want inside this box. I'm going to place this one kind of up towards the front, maybe just about 1/3 of an inch in. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply the tape to this second little insert. And I'm going to place that one about a 1/2 inch further back from that first one. But again, you could play around with these and position these anywhere you want inside this little box. So depending on the project you're doing, you can adjust these as needed. So I've got those in place, but you do want to make sure it folds flat when you have those in there. If not, reach in and just adjust that a little bit and the card should fold perfectly flat. So now I've got the little decorative panels here. I'm using my Fawn glue tube, and I'm just going to apply some glue to the back of each of these. And I am using the glue, in case I need to move these around a little bit, I want to make sure that I get them centered really well. And I'll use my bone folder just to press that out. So now I can go ahead and add the inserts to these 2 sides. I'm sorry, the little panels to these 2 sides. And then again, I'm just pressing that out with the bone folder. And now I can go ahead and do that front piece. Now I will say here, if you know what the sentiment is going to be, you could stamp that before you put that front panel on. I didn't know exactly what I was going to be doing there, so I placed it on the box and then I stamped it later, and I'll show you a little trick for stamping that later on. So now I want my couch to fit down in there nicely, so I just have to trim a little tiny bit off each side just so I can slide it down into this box a little bit further. So I'm just going to take a little tiny bit off the left and off the right, and then I'll place my glue only at the bottom of this, maybe about a ½ inch up, and I'm placing that on the second insert towards the back. Now I've got that little table with the cookies on it. So again, I'm just placing glue down towards the bottom, and I'll pop that right in place. And then I like to fold it just to make sure everything is lining up properly. So just check it each time. And then I've got these little presents and I want it to look like a little cluster of presents. So I'm going to just glue these together. And then I'll add a little glue just again towards the bottom here. And then I'm pressing that out again. Now for the little stockings, I want them to look like they're hanging on the wall behind the couch. So I'm going to place those down first, and then I'll add my little holly and berry. And I'll put a couple of those on here. And after I did that, I did decide to add a little string in the back so it would look like they were kind of hanging there. And I'll show you that here in a second. So now I've got my little candy canes. I'm going to place one on each of these panels. And then on this front one, I decided to make it look like a heart. So I grabbed a second candy cane and I'm going to glue those together. And that makes kind of cute little effect there. Now I'll add some holly and berries to each of these candy canes here on the two sides. And here's my little trick. If you want to stamp these little flaps afterwards, and we're going to be using that stamp that says Merry Christmas, which is so cute, I stack up some acrylic blocks until I get it the right height to do my stamping. And then once I have that height, I add a little bit of tape. This is the Tombow tape, and it'll come right off when we're done. So I put a little bit on the acrylic block that'll hold it in place. I'm going to ink up my stamp, and I've just placed it on an acrylic block, and I'll do my stamping. And this is really easy to do. And then, like I say, that tape will easily remove from the back there when you're done. So now I've got my Nouveau Crystal Drops, and this is the White Blizzard. So it's a really pretty, sparkly, kind of a clear, sparkly effect, and it gives a little bit of dimension to these little berries. And then I'm adding a little bit to the cookies here. Now I've got another panel. So just like those two panels we die cut before, I'm going to cut a third one because I want to reinforce the back of this little pop-up. So I'm just going to cut away the section that I need, that middle section. I'm going to just follow the lines here, that score line, and cut that off. And then I'll take a little tiny sliver off the bottom just to make sure that it fits on there nicely. So you can see that I'm just going to use that left-hand piece there. I'm not going to fold on the score line because, again, I want to reinforce the back of this. I don't want it to fold back. I want this to stand up nice and tall. So I'm lining it up, and I'll just press that out. Now, again here, if you wanted a sentiment on the back of this card, you could do that before you attach that panel. Or if you wanted to sign the back of it, that would be a good time to do all of that work. So I went ahead and attached it. You can still sign it afterwards because this will lay flat, but sometimes it's easier before you do your assembly. So now I've got my Pitt Artist pen in black. This is a permanent pen, and this is a 0.1 millimeter. And I know it's hard to see here, but I'm just adding a little string back there to make those stockings look like they're hanging on the wall. And then I'm adding a little bit of a ribbon, just a couple loops here. And that'll just make it look like it's just strung up on the wall there. And you can see that up there a little bit closer. So now I've got my Pink Fresh Studios Essentials Jewel Mix, and I'm going to grab these little turquoise ones. I'll go ahead and glue these down. Again, going back to my glue tube, I'm just adding a little dot of glue, and then I'm just using my little pickup tool to place those down. And I did that on all 3 of those panels. I added 3 to each of those panels. So let's take a closer look at this cute little pop-up. These little critters are just so adorable. So I hope you enjoyed a closer look at this Christmas mice set. And as always, all the products I used today are listed and linked below and also on my blog. And if you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. And this does fold up flat to fit in a standard A2 size card. You just want to be careful that you don't put too many things sticking up over the top, because then you might have to adjust your envelope size. So just be careful of that. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.